Have you ever watched a video about near-death experiences? There are a lot of them on YouTube, and I really enjoy watching them. And especially as a past life regression hypnotherapist, it's really interesting because in past life regression, you actually get a chance to basically have a near-death experience while you're still totally alive. Now, that might sound scary to you, but let me tell you, for most people, it's actually the opposite. It actually helps cure fear. When you experience a past life, a lot of times in past life regression, a lot of times you go all the way through the life to the end and you experience the death of that person that you once were. And then sometimes you get to go on the adventure of them leaving their body and see what happens after that. Sometimes we just see a little bit. A lot of times clients have had a difficult past life, and so they go to a place that's called the resting place. And you can't really do much. They're not experiencing much. It's kind of like they go into a kind of sleepy state where they're just in neutrality and nothing much happens. But other times, here's the most common thing that I see: the person leaves their body in that life, and a lot of times in a dramatic way. I won't go into too much detail, but you can imagine. And a lot of times, the instant right before they leave their body, they're freaking out. They're in fear. But then what happens is, as soon as they're out of their body, I mean, sometimes there's a moment of confusion or whatever. But basically, as soon as they're out of that body and they're looking at their physical body that they just left, they're in a completely different state. So here's the things that people have said to me literally hundreds of times in my past life regression work. Number one, they say they feel huge. They feel so big. And they kind of don't know how they fit themselves into that container of the body that they just left, because they're in this very expansionistic, expanded state. And another thing is, they realize that there's no problem. They realize, like, this is more natural. A lot of times, what I will ask them is, if you could go back into that body, reanimate it, and keep living that life, would you do it? And about 99% of people say, no way. No, I'm good. I'm done. And interestingly, that even happened in one situation with a woman who was poor, and she was the only person taking care of her kids. And as she was dying, she was really freaking out, like, who's going to take care of my kids? And she was really clinging on to life. I can't remember, what made her leave the body, but she was really clinging on, really just because of the children. And as soon as she was out of the body, um, she just had no worries about the kids. I said, She's like, nah, they're gonna be fine. It's all good. So number two thing, what's really interesting when people come out of the body is they can kind of see the whole future of everybody, everything, but especially people that are in their life, they can see the whole future right then, right away. And that's interesting. For example, somebody leaves their body, they leave behind a small child, similar to that woman, they're worried about the child. And I can ask, well, how does the child do? What's up with that? And it's like, oh no, he becomes a doctor and has four kids and they have kids. And the person can see the whole thing. Now, I don't know if they're really seeing it right then when they leave their body, or if it's a little bit of a mix because I'm talking to them much later. And so maybe they're overlaying their current soul knowledge with the experience of their soul at that time after leaving the body. I don't know about that. In fact, I'm just thinking of it right now. That's a good question to ask some clients under hypnosis in the future. I will be doing that and I'll report back to you. So, number one, they don't really want to go back in the body. They feel very expanded and they can see the future of those around them. They can also see the purpose. So, one of the main questions that I ask the person right after they left that body is, if you had to guess, what do you think the purpose of that life was? And a lot of times it's really simple. Like, I had to relax and enjoy nature. I had to love my kids. I had to have a happier marriage that I had never had in other past lives. I needed to not be abusive, not be violent. How did you do? Well, so so. And so they get to see the purpose of that life. They get to see where that purpose was not fulfilled and how maybe their current life is part of making up for not fulfilling the purpose of the life they just saw. So, another thing that happens is people report, I can do anything, I can go anywhere. They feel this kind of freedom of being able to do whatever they want, kind of like they could go explore any time, any place in the universe. And that's pretty cool. Um, so the thing is, when you do a past life regression, and especially for people who come to me and that's one of their main purposes, you can actually have a near death experience without getting anywhere near death in terms of this current life and this current body that you're in. And that's really exciting because eliminating fear, like I've said in other videos, is one of the most important things that you can do in terms of your spiritual ascension. Eliminating fear is key because the spirit has no fear because the spirit is not in separation consciousness. And there's a lot more to say about that, and I've said a lot of it in other videos. But having a near death experience while you're alive, whether it's a close call, actual near death experience, or a near death experience through hypnosis, through past life regression, is one of the most ripening things that can happen to you. You'll see a lot of people who had actual near death experiences, they come back very healed, like whatever killed them all of a sudden is gone or manageable or gets cured very quickly. And they come back aware of their life purpose. And that's what happens a lot of times with past life regression, that you have a certain healing and you have a certain alignment with your purpose as a result of the session. And for people who do a lot of sessions, that can go deeper and deeper and grow and develop in many different ways, including tapping into your talents, tapping into synchronicity and manifestation. When you are aligned with your life purpose, and when you are aligned with your spirit, your soul, your higher self, even the biggest challenges of life take on a whole new light. So, yeah, you can have a near death experience without getting anywhere near death. And I would say that's not scary. That's really good news.